Falan, community manager for Wargaming EU, and we are back at Gamescom 2017, and I have some special guests with me for our stream today. And the guests are Danilo, our R&D expert, and then Paul, who is our deputy creative director for World of Tanks, right?
Allegedly.
Hey guys, how
Hello.
is Gamescom so far?
Loud.
Loud,
Big.
Very loud.
Long. I went to the wrong booth. I didn't realize we had two.
Yes.
You're here, that's
So
what's important, right?
I was totally on time at the wrong booth, and it's like half a mile,
Noted.
which is why I'm sweaty now.
But no worries, because we actually had something really nice to show, because we had the show on the stage, right?
I guess so. Also, it's so lovingly quiet here. It's not. And there's
You know,
not,
we actually have to have a challenge, otherwise it would be too easy,
well,
right?
I suppose so. Have you been on these already?
No.
Oh, it's your first one.
I was on the streams, but not like this. Not in Köln, not on Gamescom.
Okay, so here's the first one. It's gonna be more fun. Okay, what we are going to talk about is really easy for you guys, I suppose, because you guys are dealing with this all the time. We're going to be talking about two topics mainly: Chinese tanks, the UTDs that are going to be introduced to the game, and then also balance changes.
The TDs we said we'd never release.
Exactly.
Good. We should talk about those. I think that's a good thing
See?
to talk about.
That's a good topic.
That's a good thing to talk about. What else are we talking about?
Balance changes.
Oh, good. So
We
a
love
nice,
those, right?
a nice neutral subject that no one has opinions about.
Exactly.
Good.
And you are
I'm
probably
glad.
the right person to ask those questions.
I want
right?
a padded vest and medics before we get into this.
Oh, no, come on. We are safe, you know, because everyone else is on the other side of the screen.
The thing about tanks and World of Tanks, and the fact that we adore tanks, is that it's a love affair. And so every time I ever meet anyone who plays, they are so passionate and they want to talk about the game in great detail. And because they love it so much, it's a very fine line between love and hate. And so whenever they're very upset, I always try to listen to them and realize that the reason they're angry is because they want to love the game more. So, you know, even our fierce players, I've got time for, because they're only bringing stuff up because they want it to be better. So, although it's painful, we'll do our very best.
I mean, it's only painful if it's not your favorite tank that's being nerfed, right?
He will never buff my tanks. Every tank I love, he purposely doesn't buff.
See, the purpose of this stream is to get answers to why, so the little why.
Because he doesn't like me.
Yeah, I just personally
He
doesn't
personally
like
doesn't
Paul
like me.
and not buffing his beloved things.
Yes,
So, guys, this is the answer for you. This is the reason. No, that's just a joke.
The actual reason why my tanks don't get a lot of love right now is because Daniel's got a very deep focus on tiers 10, 9, and 8. And you've got this strategy of making the 10s really worth getting to and making them complementary.
Yes.
And you know, the truth of the matter is, with a live game, they're very hard to update because they're running, they're live, they're always on all the time. And so it takes us much longer to do something than if the game was just going to be shipped and put in a box and just sold or just digital download. So you have to like target your resources. And so the amount of energy that has to go into making the 10s and the 9s and the 8s sort of stops us being able to do much love to the 6s and 7s and 8s. And sadly, that's where I play most of my games, because I love that part of the game. So everything I want.
But it's still coming though, right?
Oh, no, it's coming. I write them and submit them to him every day. And every day he says, I'm busy, we're fixing 8, 9, 10.
In fact, we have a great plan for
feedback
8, 9,
and
10.
statistics on the Type 4 heavy tanks that are currently considered a bit imbalanced.
We made slight changes to the armor of these vehicles. It was decided to add 2 weak spots in the tanks that provide a better chance for penetration. The armor is 10 millimeters and 20 millimeters thinner, respectively.
So I think that the British line, particularly the early, the 5, 6, 7 heavies are dreadful, and the turretless British TDs awful.
I agree with that.
Also, mid-tier German heavies are very challenging. The VK line is very challenging.
Okay.
And so we will get to them. We do have plans, and I get to nudge them in little pieces. I get to talk to him about the back chat, and I say to him, please don't change the gun. And then you didn't change the gun.
Yes, we didn't.
But that wasn't me. It was the community. That's actually true, by the way. No, it's really true. There is a lot of listening that takes part in the work that we do. And the listening comes in 3 parts. It's the statistics of the tanks, so the sort of stuff you see on Tank Compare and the sort of stuff you see on the website mods. Then there's the metadata, the actual data from millions of games. and then there's the gut instinct player knowledge data. And you have to take all three of them and put all three together to be able to come up with a fair plan. And the Batcha gun change is one that when you put all three of those together, we went, you know what, we should leave it alone right now.
Yes.
So that was him listening. So he did a good job.
A lot of
there.
people were very, very happy about that, actually.
Yeah, actually, one of the important bits about that is pointing out that we should tell people that we should actually put it in the videos and put it in the press releases and actually point out that feedback mattered.
Yes, feedback and of course more explanation about what we actually want to do. It's not like accidentally want to change by chat because everything is fine with it. But right now we won't touch it.
And the same thing happened with like the mouse, where you know, there was for years, if you were a mouse player, you were miserable. It was a miserable tank. You weren't happy. You were sad.
Yes.
And so we wanted to make, you know, the super heavy fortress, you know, give it its job. And so we tried it with a good heart, and we did everything well. In fact, we did one bit slightly too well, because once we'd got the survivability efficiency up, we'd also managed to oversell the offensive ability.
Yes, firepower.
And so it rolled out, and then lo and behold, it meant that it was not only good at damage avoidance and damage absorption, it was also good at efficiency for staying in battle, but it also meant that because of its offensive power and its offensive efficiency, it was then tipping the balance in what it was doing in battles. And so we were then faced with the problem of, well, oops, we've overdone it, we've overcooked it. And I remember you were like, well, we'll leave it for one patch so that at least the mouse players can be happy.
Yeah, at least one page.
I mean, it's still pretty good after the changes, right?
Oh, what it is now is exactly what the original outline was supposed to be. And, you know, I was just come back from North America where we had a player event, and I was asked really hard questions, and you know, the only answer I have for people who again, they get very emotional is, we are changing things. The game is being changed. So we're not just sitting still. We had a period where we were just sitting still, and we made some strange tanks, and we were making some strange decisions. Those days have gone. Slava's got a great vision for it. Daniel's delivering on it. And what that means is, when you make changes, you're not going to be happy with all of them. And so, you know, it's upsetting for people. But what people have got to remember is that, yeah, okay, the mouse kind of messed up there. But we've made a lot of other changes that have been very good for the game, that have made the tanks much more playable. So we're sorry about that mouse change. We are fixing it. And there's the Type 4 and 5 Heavy.
Yes, getting weak spots, maneuverability fixes, and many others.
But another great example of, you know, the Type 5 was terrible. It was absolute junk. And then we fixed it, and it was like, whoops, kind of overfixed it, made it so you only needed premium ammo. That was probably a bad mistake. You know, and you live and learn. The Chrysler.
It's so one. Nice tank.
Yeah, but it should have a weak spot on the machine gun. That's a fair point. We should get round to that. But anyway, you've got some questions for us.
You're kind of already answering most of them, or some of them, right?
By the way,
this is really fun.
This is how it is every day. Literally, we have long there's lots of us. There's a whole balanced team. And people make very strong arguments all the time. Like every time we meet, I go, what about 5, 6, 7?
And I say no.
I start every meeting that. And I go, well, at least can I have the Black Prince frontal armor? That's what I'm after. I try to think of actually the Sabaton tank's a great example. So we've got the Sabaton tank out, which I've actually got the uncamouflaged version.
The first version was uncamouflaged.
Yeah,
yes.
So I've got that. So I was playing that version. So I didn't see the one that was all Sabatoned up. But I came back to see him and I said, look, don't take this the wrong way. I'm really enjoying the tank. But I like the British line. And it makes my Centurion 1 look stupid. And he was very good. And he said, don't worry. You're going to get it all on your Centurion line.
Yeah, and not in the next patch, but next we're fixing Centurions and many British tanks.
Oh, yeah, no. And so then it was like, oh, so, you know, if we should tell people. Otherwise, if you're just a player, you look at the Sabaton tank and then you compare it to the Centurion line and you go, well, it's a premium tank and it's better than the Centurions. It's like, whoa, hang on. That turret's coming on the Centurion line and the velocity, shell velocity is being up to, you'll be fine. The Centurions are going to come out fine. And the reason for those changes are to do with playability.
Yes.
You were concerned that because of the low alpha and because of the opportunity time and because of the size of the hull, the Centurion wasn't performing with the same sort of fun and exposure that it needed.
Yes, yes.
See?
Centurion was, you know, super boring tank.
Boring.
But yeah, boring. It's true. It's really nice. It looks very cool, especially level 9 and 10. But it needs some love, and it would get it.
Yeah. Then we're doing the same for the British heavy line.
Heavy line, turreted TD line, many things coming.
Yeah, by the way, I just want to he and I have gone backwards and forwards on this. I want the turretless TD line fixing. Unfortunately, I can't win that argument. We're going back to the turreted one. Have you told them what you're doing?
About turreted one?
Yeah, like the changes. Do they know what they are?
I think we had leaked info and many people...
Can you tell them now, or is it illegal?
The changes are not final.
Well, all right, then how about we do it with the conceptual? Like, what were the things that were bothering you about the turreted Tier 10?
What I didn't like, just personally.
Yeah, personally.
What were the problems of it?
What bothered you about the 4005?
You had a terrible angles.
Yeah.
No armor. You will still have no armor, but angles, depression, horizontal angles, they will be much better than they was.
Yes.
I already played on the tank.
The new one?
Yeah, new one. The changes are only angles, and it's so much.
What about
healthy.
depression? Did you change depression?
It's twice bigger than it was. It's not 5 but 10 degrees right now.
Yeah, I mean the turret is as big as Wednesday, which is very, very challenging. And it could only move. What was the original traverse?
I think it was 19 degrees.
Yeah, the traverse was terrible.
And it would be, I think, 180.
Yeah, so it's going to get like a full 180-degree turn. Plus, it's going to be able to angle down better.
Use heels a bit.
Then we had a lunatic idea for an alternate mode.
Yeah, but it would not be implemented right
No.
now. In the future, maybe.
But it's great, though.
It's a really nice idea.
Really,
I love it.
It's honestly, genuinely, I'm very excited, but it's like it's all prototyped. And then we're still arguing about Hesh.
Yes. Yes.
I'm a big fan that Hesh should be a British thing, and it should do something, and it should be more than just messing slightly with the math. It should be substantial, and he agrees. It's just that no one can agree on what we should do. We all agree there's only one man to design it, but we all agree that it's each of ourselves. So we'll probably put ourselves in a fight for it.
Yes, we have many ideas about Hesh shells, but it comes against realistic part of it because it's high explosive shells and they must explode on tracks and something, and playability of it. So we haven't really decided right now what we want to do actually.
But it's a good example of giving character to a tank branch. Just as you've put the autoloaders into the French TDs.
Yes, from level 8.
Yeah, because the French should be about autoloaders. That's their whole gimmick. And so you go, well, autoloaders should be in 9.
Now you're actually going into the things that I wanted to talk about.
Oh, good. Sorry.
Feel
free.
No, this is
the French TD line's a great example of. It's a line that came out and it was totally broken. The Foch 155.
It was so overpowered, it was many years ago.
It was a monster. And so people went through the line pretty much ignoring it to get to the Foch 155.
That's what I did.
And then the Nerf hammer came out. And you know, we got like Nerf hammer turrets. Nerf it, nerf. By the time we'd finished, the Foch 155 is about as good as a Tier 3 British TD. Like, it wasn't very good at all. And so what that meant was, people then started looking at the rest of the line and they came to a very reasonable conclusion. Once you got past the bathtub, French TD line was rubbish. And so no one was playing it. And so what you have to do is go, well, how do we restore the French line? How do we make the French great again?
Autoloaders.
Autoloaders. But that led to a design problem, which is if you put the autoloaders and fix them, you've got this 155 caliber gun at Tier 10, and you'll just recreate the monster problem. So what was your solution?
Yeah, we decided to leave tank for players who already have it. So people who have Foch 155 will have it in the hangar and get a new one for free. So player happiness in all the times.
Well, that was a neat way. What he meant to say was, he changed the gun to a gun that was more reasonable. He then buffed loads of bits of the tank to round it out. He got rid of loads of its weaknesses, but then we had a problem. What if you already had the 155? Actually, I want to ask you a question about that, because I don't know. All the buffs that you did to the new tier 10, did you put them on the 155?
Yes, of course.
So does the 155 become a monster then?
Not monster, but a bit more comfortable than it was.
Wow.
It would be really strange with tanks with the same hull, which have really different
People
armor.
like me who
angles.
actually have the tank are going to be really happy with the
Oh
old
man,
one, right?
there was an on-track to it recently and I burnt the hell out of my XP to get there. Because I was like, I'm getting one of them. I was on my North American account, my special account. Vive la France!
There's so many people playing the French line just for this tank, to have it in their garage.
Yes, it's first time when you can get it for free a tier tank.
Yeah, so we've got the TD line has now been repaired. The bat chat's been left alone.
It did.
What else have you been changing?
We slightly changed level 8 heavy, as you remember, gun depression.
Right.
It's a small change, but
Was it the 8 or the, was it the, 8 or the 9?
it's level 8.
Although the 5100.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
8.
I remember getting that tank, and it's a great example of the leveling up you have to do on the French line. The French line is all about know your tank, know your position, know your role, unload, get out of the way, pick your fights. And I remember getting to the 5100, and it was better than any of the other pieces of junk to get there, by the way. I want to fix.
You don't like ARL?
What do you know? I want to fix the 5, 6, 7 versions of the tanks. I'd be all over that. But yeah, so that's good stuff. What else we got coming? Lots of stuff happening with the Russian line.
Yes, fixing.
Is that because of Russian bias?
Of course, no.
No. You get?
It's
no.
not. Look, we use a lot of historical references, and the Russians made really good tanks. So what have you been doing there? What are you doing to the IS-7? I hear you changing that.
Yes, it's became more dynamic. It would be faster.
Yeah.
We're fixing a bit stabilization, aiming time, and more important, health points. The changes itself, they are not big alone, but together, tank is much more comfortable than it was.
Yeah, so the changes to the IS-7 are a great example of using the meta play data. So if you just look at the statistics, you can end up thinking about how you should change the IS-7, but actually it'll fool you into making a bad tank. And then if you talk to people from a gut point of view, they all say the same thing, well, the IS-7 just needs to be buffed through the roof. But if you look at the metadata, and you look at its shot exchange efficiency, its armor efficiency, you look at how long it stays on the battlefield, you realize that just a small collection of changes in small areas will be like a force multiplier for how that tank plays out. So hopefully it'll work. Are you going to fix the IS-4?
IS-4, you know our plans for
I know
IS-4.
that. To be fair, that was a naughty question. I know what we're doing. It's awesome. I'm just going to trick him into saying it, but it didn't work. And then with the changes to the... Because you've taken my beloved BL-10 off my IS-152, haven't you?
Yes.
You're a horrible man.
Yes, of course I'm
We had a big fight about that.
I can imagine.
A nice fight, but a big fight, where I just said to him, the only reason I have that tank is because of the BL-10. And he was like, no, hang on, Paul. You've got to realize that the Tier 9 is good, but the Tier 10's terrible.
Yes.
And so he wanted to fix the Tier 10, which meant he needed to back out the solution to the Tier 9. And then when you back out from the 9, you hit this problem with the 8. And the 8's sort of disproportionate. If you looked at the stats, basically it was a Tier 8 TD with a Tier 10 gun.
Yes.
But then if you looked at the metaplay data, it wasn't a very successful tank. What it did is it blew one tank up.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it got spotted and got killed. And it was like, well, its win rate's actually low compared to the other Tier 8s out there. The efficiency on the battlefield is low, unless it was top tier and fully tricked out with camo. In which case, if it survived to the end of a match, it became basically a one-hit cleanup machine.
2 shots and any Tier 8 dead.
And so he wanted to take my gun away, and so the deal we struck is you kept my alpha, but you took away some of my penetration.
Alpha is the same.
Yeah, you kept the alpha. I got to maintain my alpha. I lost some penetration, but in exchange,
you have more health points, so you can survive one more round from IS-3, and IS-3 is one of most popular tanks on tier 8.
And so it was. It does make that line a better line, and it means going to the tier 10 is good. And above all, you left my 704 alone.
Yes, 704. See? It's even more efficient than it was, because in stock you're getting a new gun from ISU.
Yeah, you get rid of that crazy crap stock gun.
No, you still have it,
oh,
but you don't need to use it.
Because I automatically get the gun from the other tank.
Yes.
Yes, so that works out.
You guys also remove some of the guns, so it's easier to research, right?
Yes.
He and I, if we're united about one thing, we are both on a rampage to try and get rid of the useless guns.
Yes, useless guns, no more.
Oh my lord, if I could just go through the entire game and just take away, or free XP, all the useless guns, I would be a happy man. Like, the fact that you can get... There's accountants somewhere weeping. In fact, they're probably loading guns. No, but like, that you can get a tier 9 that has a turret unlock that unlocks a tier 5 gun, in my opinion, is insane. That makes no sense at all. And so it should be free. And all the historical guns should just be free. I just need to convince the accountants.
It's going to be hard, but
no,
possible,
I don't know about
right?
that. I don't know about that. I think if we can make a good case for the love of our game, this is what it's about in R&D. In R&D, our job is to come up with new and interesting ways for the game to be played and encountered with, and then to make business cases for them. That's how the business case for making the tier 10s happen. That's how the business case for the narratives happen. We have this whole narrative system we've been working on, which is based on, if ever you meet a tanker and you talk and you have a beer, if you're legal to drink, they can tell you about a tank line, and they can talk about it in a way and a tone and a style, and it has a feel, and they can talk about each individual tank. And so we were going, well then, why can't we just do the same thing? Why can't we build out a narrative line for a nation, then a narrative line for a type within a nation, and then a narrative for individual tanks within a type? And from that, we can figure out which tanks are additive. We can figure out where tanks go crazy. So, for instance, we're going to go back to the British line. Sorry. You get the Churchill 1. It's a slow-moving brick. You get the Churchill 7. It's a slow-moving brick that's slightly less good than the Churchill 1. You then get the Black Prince. It's a slow-moving brick that's slightly less good than the Churchill 7. And then you get the Carnarvon, which is a worthless piece of junk that plays as a mid-range sniper that plays nothing like the tanks you've just had. So the narrative line is, Churchill 1, it's sort of like a crap Churchill 3. Churchill 7, it's like a Churchill 1 that's naff. Black Prince used to be good, but now it's rubbish. And then Carnarvon plays completely different, and it's not very good at what it is. It's like a fat Centurion. And then you get to the Conqueror, brilliant.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And then you get the sort of bizarro 215B, where it goes, have you just got used to the Carnarvon and the Conqueror? Yeah, it doesn't play like that anymore.
So the idea is basically to have a concept, an overarching concept for a line, right?
Yes.
And then build upon it and be able to say to players, you will develop your skill set. You will add new skills to the set. That if you've bothered to learn a skill set, you can apply it to the next tank up, unless, because of gun development and tank development, there's a massive veer-off, like the Black Prince to the Carnarvon. That's just a historical thing. We can't do anything about it. But at least we can inform you and help you out. And it allows us, it's what's driving your T-54 rebalance, right?
To make, you have, on T-54 you have two guns there, completely different. One was rubbish. Right now they're...
Good use of the word rubbish, I approve of that.
Yeah, really nice word. And now, right now you have also two guns, but they're two different playstyles, completely different playstyles.
Differentiate between the two playstyles.
Yeah, one of them is for a more close-up play, close-quarter combat, mid-range to close-quarter combat, and the second one is mid-range to long-range.
Yes.
Opportunity
yes. And
sniper.
also we fixed the turret.
The turret, yeah.
Yeah.
which, by the way, so I came back from America where we just did an event over there.
You had zero turret?
No. I had the same point brought up by 4 different people, so I'm going to bring it up to you blind because I know you know the answer. The Americans were saying, why are you buffing the turret? Isn't the turret already really good?
Yeah, that's a relevant question. We had that in the community as well.
Yeah. Why did we buff the T-54 turret? It's not really good.
It's not really good. First thing, because even level 7 couldn't penetrate it. Yeah, it has some armor, but in those old nice times when game was better and all of this, T-54 had much better turret. Before it was got to HD model, the armor was completely different. And after that, it got historical armor, something like this, and lost its point. Because turret armor was the main thing of the tank.
So the other way of parsing that is the game changes. It moves, it develops, it alters. The way it played 2 years ago to the way it plays now isn't the same. We have a lot of tanks that are a lot higher now, who can shoot down on the T-54 that couldn't beforehand. We also, the way the game is played, how you position the tanks, where you put them on the maps is altered. And that has also given us difficulties. And also, tanks just age. So you find that the longer it's been since we looked at a tank, usually the worse it's performing, because it's just drifting out of competitiveness as we've added new tank lines in. So what happens with a lot of players is they don't play the T-54, they remember what it used to be like, and they're applying a memory. And the best example is the Type 59.
Yes.
You know, people really want a Type 59, and I don't know how to break the news to people who haven't got one, but the Type 59 today isn't the Type 59 of 2 years ago.
4 years ago.
4 years ago, yeah. I mean, it used to be indestructible.
I remember.
It would kill everybody. I know, look, things change, times change, and we change with them. And for a lot of people who are talking to me about the changes, you know, mine-forged manacles are the hardest to break. So when someone's got an idea in their head about a tank, if they've not looked at the stats, they've not looked at the play data, and if they're not playing the tank, it's very hard for them to be happy with changes that just appear to be making a tank they already think is strong, stronger. And so that's where you get the energy. But the narrative for the 54 is that it's a cockroach, it moves around, it's quite resilient, it's sort of a mid-play tank. It can either go close or far away, depending on its gun type. That then leads to the narratives that we want to develop for the 62A and the 140.
Yeah, we wanted to change them dramatically, but we decided after by chat that we won't do it right now. Yeah. It would take some time to explain it.
And the reason behind that is you want to know, as a tanker, as a tank collector, you want to know that your tank means something, that it's not just a clone of another tank, that it's not just a copy. It's got to have something about it that makes it feel interesting and useful and makes you want to play it. And that's what's driving, you know, the sort of focus and changes that you see us doing. It's what's actually, we should get onto the other thing. The Chinese TDs. Now, let's just get it right. If you're about to tell me that we're going to bring it into the servers, then what about all the other nonsense that we've got on the Chinese server? Are they all coming back as well? Is the Waffenträger coming back?
For example?
Is the Waffenträger coming back?
Of course, no.
The Waffenträger is not coming back at all. That's not happening. But what is the driver for bringing the Chinese TDs?
As many people know, we want to release them only on Chinese server or Asia or something like that. But after we said that, many people came and said, we want those things, just because we want them. Maybe they are not super unique, super cool looking or something like that, but we want content that other people have, not like Valkyria Chronicle tanks, they are only for Asia.
I don't want that tank.
Yes, and you will not have it. You even working in Wargaming poll.
I don't want that tank.
Yeah, so
anywhere near my game.
Yeah, so we decided to go with Chinese TDs on all servers.
I mean, the actual story is quite mundane. The Chinese server is an independently operated part of tanks, and they quite rightly said it's got a lot of Chinese people. And you know what? They really like Chinese tanks. Could you put the Chinese TD line
How could it happen?
And we looked at it and went, well, it's not particularly unique, which, by the way, is true if you look at the Chinese tanks. A lot of them are suspiciously like other tanks.
A little bit, yes.
You know,
like Soviet, maybe, just maybe. I have such a thought.
But they are the happiest tanks in our game. because they have no depression. That's true. No, and so we put in the TD, we put in the TDs, and they're all right. They're all right. That's my opinion on them. They're all right. But there is a group of tank players which I identify with, which are rabid collectors. I want every tank in the game. And so my reaction is, there's going to be a new set of tanks I can have. Excellent. I'll take them. I don't really care whether they're good or bad.
More content, right?
More tanks from my garage. Hooray, hooray. Because when I get a tank, I decide whether it's a tank I'm going to play or it's a tank that's just to look pretty in my garage. And so, for instance, the Canon Jagdpanzer, it just looks pretty in my garage. Because it's basically an E25 that somehow broke into a donut shop, ate a lot of donuts, and then went to sleep for 10 years and just became really fat. And I go, well, I'm not going to take it out, but I'm going to buy it. I'm going to put it in my garage. I look after it. You can buff that. Actually, think about that. Another question I got asked in North America, and I thought about you. Why are we buffing old premium tanks?
Excellent question.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, he had the best answer, because he said to me, if we don't buff old premium tanks, then we just make new premium tanks, which of course the accountants love. They were like, new premium tanks? You should just make new premium tanks. But then it was like, no, hang on a minute. People have had these tanks for a long time. They should continue to get, value for play out of them. And so he started buffing the old premium tanks, which, again, makes the accountants sad. But my logic is the same logic you've been applying. Tanks just get old. I'm going to call it the low, but it's not the low, is it? The Louvre.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you because
What's
of the stage.
The German low? L-O-W-E. How do you pronounce it?
Liebe?
Whatever it is. That, right? In my opinion, one of the worst tanks we had is premium. People would go in, buy it, play a game, lose, be rubbish. After he buffed it, I thought it was great. Very playable. So, with that in mind, which ones are you off to buff soon?
We're working right now on Chinese few tanks. I don't know. We leak this information or no? I don't remember. I don't remember. Yeah, next patch.
But we're going to keep looking at them.
Yes, of course. We buffed already tons of old premium tanks.
Well, you talked about we are doing some thinking about the KV5. That was in your video.
We have a really nice idea for KV5. Really nice, but I cannot announce it before it will be ready.
No, and people on the stream need to understand. We do have to get confirmation, test, and do stuff. But what you're hearing is the sort of the theory behind it. I think it's really cool that we're spending time making old premium tanks viable, because I think you've been playing the game a long time. It's nice to know that your tanks are going to continue to be updated and scrubbed up, and so they've got a chance to be viable on the tech tree. I think it's a great idea, and I think that it's not just if we were just after the money, they'd just bring out super powerful premiums, new ones all the time. So I always get happy when we talk about sorting out old ones, like I would if we fix the 6, 7s and 5.
No.
You see a loop there.
Yeah,
that's what I did there.
There's this conversation going on. How long has this been going on, by the way?
Well, I don't know, long time.
Time.
We share an office. We sit next to each other.
Maybe half of a year or more, 8 months. No, I'm hearing every day about tier 5, 6, 7.
You guys are an advocate for those changes.
So what actually happens is we identify our game styles, and then we cross-index how we feel about the game. So I approach it as I'm a highly committed player, so I play every day. I have an account, this will surprise you, that I don't have to spend any money on. But I only have one of those. I have 8 accounts that I spend money on.
8?
8. I have 8 accounts. And I'm a high-engaged, lone wolf, antisocial, random game only, non-competitive, tank collector, high spender. That's what I am. He's not. He's got a bit of an overlap.
So
but
who are you actually? What kind of gamer are you?
I'm also a lone wolf.
It's true.
Yeah, I'm not playing in platoons or something, but I'm a
You're a high tier.
Yes.
And you're competitive.
High tier player, yes.
Yeah, high tier competitive.
Tier 10s are all for me.
Yeah, he loves tier 10s. And so, what you have to do as in our department is you have to think about the whole of the game and all the different players. Then you have to understand what your bias is. And then you need to think about all the ways you can improve the game that are beyond your play knowledge. And then you debate and talk about it. And then, unfortunately, I don't know how many people work on games, there's then the reality of production. And, you know, these things require hundreds of people. And they have to be planned out months in advance. And so you can write out a great idea on 2 pieces of paper, but that might be 2 years worth of work, because you got to get all the way through the system. And, you know, something that sounds incredibly easy on paper turns out to be monumentally hard when you're trying to put it in the game. I'll give you an example. The colorblind mod. Okay. So I'm colorblind, red, green, and brown. So as you can imagine, our maps are really good.
Yes.
Right? And we have a button that says colorblind mode. And if you click it, about 60% of our game turns into colorblind mode. The rest is still green, red, and brown. And in some places, it's green, red, and brown in places that are really important, like the reload timer, the penetration indicator, the main crosshair. That's still green and red, and it's on a brown background. It's absolutely horrible. And our garage, the actual garage we play with tanks, has 0 color blindness. If you have colorblind mode switched on, nothing changes. Battle button is still red. The up and down arrows on stats are still red and green. And so I foolishly said, well, could we fix colorblind mode? And by the time they went back, looked into it, came back and laid it out, it was like 17 different modules of the game that all had to be drilled out. And it's like, well, do you want this, which will take forever, or would you like some HD maps? And so, you know, you win and you lose. You go up, you go down. And so game making is this. It's this over and over again. And we have data, the metadata to look at, the statistics to look at. We have data analysts. We're able to look at... There's a difference between what someone says they do and what someone does. There hardly ever 100% overlap.
Yeah, that's true.
So you sort of go, well, this guy who says, I never pay for anything, seems to sure have spent a lot of money, which is true. Or I never play this tank. Well, your play data doesn't say that. Play data says something else entirely. But that also challenges your perception. So a lot of the times when we're doing the debates, one of us will say something, the other guy will go check up on it, and then we have to go through the data, and then we ultimately have to come up with an answer, and then ultimately it sits on his shoulders.
Just a bit.
Hey, you wanted a gig, baby. Me, I want boring things. Like I want to be able to pick a member of my crew and decide whether it's male or female.
Actually, a lot of people on the forums.
I don't see any reason for that. This is a reasonable idea. I want us to get rid of charging gold to change the name of your team. Why should you have to charge gold to change the name of a crew member? That's stupid. There's an accountant somewhere. I can sense it.
Over there.
One more time, didn't hear you.
I can see that you have a different opinion, or another opinion about this.
Oh, I wanted to say one thing, but I decided it's a bad idea.
And that's why he has a bigger job.
Okay.
He's able to... No, and the point is, you know, players should take heart that within the company, there are a diverse range of opinions. We have people who are rabid about you shouldn't have to pay for anything, and it should never be pay to win, and like rabid. And then we have to debate it, then we have to make a decision, and then we have to put it into the plan. But the debates are happening. There are very good, strong views. I'm okay with having my opinions being told I have to wait, or I have to go in order, or they listen to them and they go, no, we're not doing that. And I go, okay, at least I know we're not doing it. We're not doing it then. So, you know, it's not being done in a vacuum, and it's not being done with just him in one room on his own. Like, you know, we have development and debate and conversation, and we have Slava, who's great at it.
And you guys are actually much better at communicating about it, because we have these sessions, we have a lot of Q&As, we have a lot of stuff being published on the portal nowadays. I think that we are keeping players much better in the loop than we used to. Maybe, I'm pretty sure we can improve on that even further.
Well, we took a big swing at the patch notes. That was one of the big changes, which started.
Yeah, patch notes are bigger right now, but they're far from perfect, to be honest. Many things are not, you know, understandable.
But we are much better at explaining why we are doing things, right?
Well, and it's because, God, in defense to how it used to be, you were having to go so quickly that there just wasn't really time to think about why we were doing it, or to explain it, because you had to get so much done. And so, you know, one of the things that my job is to do is to try and bring a sort of, what is the communication on the outward part of the game? Like, why shouldn't we tell people why? If we've got a really good reason, why don't we tell people? And a good example of that was, he has a big plan for all the 8, 9, 10s. But because of the timing of how they can go in the game, they were appearing in like fits and starts. They were just appearing. And so if you just saw them in the patch, it looked like he was insane, because he didn't appear to have any plan. But there was a plan, it's just we hadn't bothered to explain the plan. And so we had to sit down and get the plan out, and get the narratives out, and get it all figured out, put it onto presentations, and then we had to go to the regions and say, look, you need to find out how to talk to the regions. How you talk to Europeans is not the same as how you talk to the Americans, and it's certainly not the same how you talk to CIS.
Yes, and Chinese.
And the Chinese.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we're having to learn how to do the communication, and we're having to learn to trust the community. And that means, by the way, that the fierce members of the community, they do get to throw rocks, and they do get to be outraged. And we just have to, you know, learn that that's part and parcel of what happens when you have a deep, love affair, community-based game. You're not going to make everyone happy, and so we've got to allow people to hear it. So, you know, we're getting better each patch, I think.
Yes, and we still have a great plan that's going on.
Oh, we've got some amazing stuff coming up, which you can't talk about, but it's amazing. It's one of the most frustrating things is we're looking at stuff that's coming out 6 months, a year from now, and you go, gosh, if only we could tell people about that, they'd be super happy. But I mean, as a player, I get happy, because I know that he's ultimately going to fix my Black Prince.
Especially for you,
Just for
Paul.
me.
Just for you,
Just
yes.
for me. No, I appreciate
On your
that.
birthday.
Okay, guys, I think we are slowly running out of time because the Euro Cup is coming up.
Oh my
So,
God.
Thank you very much for this discussion. I think it was awesome. We learned a lot, and I'm pretty sure that viewers are also very
Did
happy
we miss
with it.
anything on your questions?
There's only one thing we didn't actually talk about.
It's
You know
his
what?
fault.
Of course.
You guys
Everything
were
is
awesome
my
going through
fault.
all the different changes. The only thing that you didn't mention was, I think, the medium tanks in the French line. And, you know, the tier 9 and tier 10. That's the only thing that
Well,
you
so
didn't mention.
first of all, there's no such thing as the medium tanks in the French line, because they have like 1 at the beginning, and then the others are at 9 and 10.
Yes.
Like they're in
That's
this.
true,
You mean like the 2 tanks at 9 and 10?
Yes.
The MX-50, 30B, and the 30, right?
Yes, and
And those are kind of
Batchats
precious to me
are,
because I
they're
played
called
them.
mediums. They're called mediums.
Although
They're
it's a
not.
light and all but name. Well, that's a great example of the narrative we were talking around. The changes that he wants to make on the MX-30 line is to tidy up the narrative so that they just don't become a carbon copy or clone, or just don't have enough about them.
Not another Leopard 1. Just different things. We're trying to do them different, and from my opinion, they are playing right now not like Leopard 1, definitely.
And the proof of it is in the playing. So if you love tanks and you like what we're doing, or even if you don't like what we're doing, just keep coming back with the patches, see where we're going, listen to more streams, read more stuff, keep in contact with the community people. He'll work hard, it'll all be great, and we'll see you on the battlefield.
Exactly, guys. Thanks for listening. We are going to come back to you with the Euro Cup soon. So until then, bye-bye.